ABC Wednesday.
I'm Joan, and I'm your first Golden Bachelorette.
Joan's getting a second chance.
This is about everybody like me, navigating, trying to find love at this age.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't have hope.
Because love never ages.
Golden age doesn't mean you're old. Old is a state of mind, like a lot of living to do.
The Golden Bachelorette. Series premiere Wednesday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
It's the Larry Kudlow Show. Free market prosperity starts here. Now, here's Larry Kudlow.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the show. John Carney, Breitbart economics editor and co-author of the Breitbart Business Digest. John, I'm just going to start with this one, September 12th. Why Harris dodged the most important question of the debate. Now, we've been talking a little bit about that, and I talked about it in my opening. But, you know, she never did answer it. Are Americans better off than they were 4 years ago? She never really answered that. I mean, I know that she has she came from a middle-class family, which, by the way, is only a partial truth because when they lived in Montreal, they lived in the best neighborhood. But I know she likes lawns. I mean, she likes beautiful lawns, and she likes word salads. But she never really answered that question, did she?
No, she didn't. And it's a very tricky question for them because all the surveys and the objective facts show that people aren't better off than they were 4 years ago. In fact, it wasn't until the day after the debate that finally we saw real incomes tick just above where they were when Donald Trump was president. So in other words, all through the Biden-Harris administration, people's real incomes have been, the median real income has been lower than it was when Donald Trump was president. And by the way, we're still below where we were in 2019. Mm-hmm. So, you know, when people look back and say, am I better off under Biden-Harris than I was under Donald Trump? The answer is no. And for a long time, the left was trying to more or less brainwash people into saying that was all just that was an illusion. It wasn't true. The economy was a lot better than people thought. But if you just look at this one really important number, which is real income, and by the way, you can also now look at unemployment. Unemployment was lower under Donald Trump than it is today. So we're now above Donald Trump on unemployment, below Donald Trump on real income. Of course, people feel worse.
Median income under Trump was $6,400 cumulatively, $6,400 for a typical family. It's $1,350 under Harris or Biden-Harris, almost 5 times, John. I mean, that's a big number. I'm sorry that he didn't say this in the debate. A couple of statistics might have gone a long way. But the reality is take-home pay has done very badly under Biden-Harris.
That's right. It's done very badly. In fact, there was no growth at all for a long time. Look, if you just looked at the nominal numbers and didn't have all this inflation, it would look great. Mm. But what really wiped out everybody's gains was prices rising so fast, and so much of what's wrong with the Biden-Harris administration really comes back to the fact that they adopted inflationary policies that sent inflation through the roof, wiped out any gains that he was having. It's very hard for the economy to keep up with things when you have prices rising 9%. You then to get any sort of gain at all, you need to have just really amazing nominal numbers, and we're not, and so much so that you really can't do it. That's the economy overheating. So inflation ate away everybody's gains. It's why people are upset, and it's frankly why every time Kamala Harris gets asked this question, she's going to dodge it because there's no good answer.
John Carney, the Federal Reserve meets this week. They're going to cut their target rate, either 25 or 50 basis points. But I want to just ask you, is this going to be a political rate cut? Will it be seen as a political rate cut? Is it really necessary and justified as a rate cut? How do you see this story?
So I think the Fed, a few months ago, the Fed had no excuse to cut. And if they did cut, it would have been seen as very much a political rate cut. Now, with the unemployment rate ticking up a bit, it's gone up to 4.2%. People, they can at least, have some justification for it. I don't think it's a good idea. I think inflation is still too high. I think they should hold off until later in the year or early next year. There's no rush to cut it, but they are going to cut. I think it will be seen less political now because the economy is weaker than it would have when the economy was stronger a few months ago. I think if they do a 50 basis point cut, which actually some people, both on, liberals, some of them are asking for a 50 basis point cut. I actually think that'll backfire because I don't think that will help Kamala Harris. I think if they do a very big interest rate cut, that will make people think, oh, wow, the economy must really be broken for the Fed to have to cut that much. And that actually could end up hurting Harris and actually maybe even hurting the stock market and the economy because you know how these things go. If the Fed does something really big, everybody wonders, do they know something that we don't?
So the Fed's target for inflation is 2%. The CPI that came out last week, the 12-month change is 2.5, and the core ex-food and energy is 3.2. Now, you're a smart guy. I may not have this right, but 2.5 and 3.2 are higher than 2.0. All right.
The last time I checked, that is correct, Larry.
All right. Well, thank heavens for that. I've had a bumpy week, but some arithmetic is still left. So I know the unemployment rate has gone up. It's gone from 3.4 to 4.2, but that's still historically pretty low. Meanwhile, the inflation rate is still above their target. And one wonders if they, cut interest rates, it's not going to have any real impact on the economy. I mean, it's not 1,000% clear to me that the Fed should be doing this. I don't know. It's, I can't quite figure it out, and I don't know what Mr. Trump's response is going to be when they do this.
Yeah, I think that the part of the problem is there's absolutely no reason to cut in September when they can wait till after the election.
Yeah.
And that to me just made much more sense. I thought they would wait. I thought they should wait. They've made it clear they're not waiting. As you said, 2.5, which is also, by the way, where we are on the personal consumption expenditure price index. So it's not running lower than that anymore. That is still very far above the Fed's target. And by the way, it didn't change. So we went from 2.7 back in April to 2.6 in May, but June and July were 2.5. So we've basically been stuck. It's not coming down. And for the Fed to cut without evidence that inflation is, heading towards the target, I think is dangerous because we've seen it before. It actually happened in the beginning of this year where the Fed started to communicate a cut, inflation took back off. It happened back in the 1970s where the Fed would think inflation was done, cut interest rates, inflation would come back. There is a danger that they do that again. They all know that that's a danger, yet for some reason they're proceeding this way anyway.
Even with this 2%, so just, again, some simple math. If you have $100 of savings, $100, and the inflation rate rises at 2% per year for 30 years, all right, long-term savings. That $100, John, is only worth $55.70. In other words, I'm saying, what's so great about 2% inflation? I mean, remember, cumulatively, as you know, the CPI has gone up about 20% over Biden-Harris's 3.5 years plus. Prices never come down. I mean, ordinary families aren't really that interested in the personal consumption expenditures deflator. They're interested in real world prices, which are, up 20% and more for certain items. I don't know what's so great even about 2%.
Well, I would definitely say that one of the problems about aiming for 2% after you've been up at 6, 7, 8%, is that it means that it will take many years for the average to ever get back down, I mean, frankly, you can't get back down unless you go below 2%. But it takes many years for the average over, say, 10 years to approach 2% again, which means that people are permanently living in a much higher price environment than they were told they were going to, than we should have lived into. And their savings, look, the stock market has done well. But not everybody is fully invested in the stock market. If you had cash somewhere, you've been, for that you set aside, to just put it one way, a financial advisor will often tell you have 6 months of cash just in case you need it. So you can sell it, so that you can tap into that, not have to sell your stocks if you get into trouble. Well, guess what? Your 6 months of cash that you had when Biden came into office is now worth 4 months worth of cash. In other words, you got wiped out.
Right. And, it'd be nice if you, sometimes your target is +2, maybe your target ought to be -2, because ordinary folks get clobbered by this and they never seem to catch up. Anyway, I got to jump out. John Carney, Breitbart Business Digest. By the way, folks, you got to read that thing. It's a daily column up on the Breitbart website. John Carney is the author along with Alex Marlowe, and it's a must-read every day. Thank you, John. We appreciate it. Folks, we're going to take a quick break, and then Mike Falkender, finance professor, former assistant treasury secretary. We're going to come back and talk about how the Kamala Harris tax hikes could really destroy the economy. I'm Kudlow. We'll be right back.
Janine Pirro here for Colonial Metals Group. Colonial Metals Group helps Americans protect their future with the most trusted store of wealth in human history, physical gold and silver. If you're retiring or retired, go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/Pirro for your free Janine Pirro Colonial Metals Group Retirement Protection Kit, or call 800-965-8004. 800-965-8004 now to receive a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver.